Okay, so get this. New York City. They collect enough Christmas trees after the holidays to fill up, like, almost 10 football fields.
Wow.
Crazy, right? It's a whole lot of festive forest. But where do all those trees go after all the holiday cheer fades?
Right.
That's what we're going to unpack today. The kind of surprisingly complex,
Yeah.
dare I say, fascinating world of Christmas tree disposal. In NYC, we've got this detailed guide from a local waste management company.
Okay.
And trust me, you'll never look at your old Christmas tree the same way again.
Yeah, what's really interesting to me is that, it's not just about, like, tossing those trees in a landfill.
Right.
NYC has, like, this whole system they've developed
Yeah.
that benefits the environment
Yeah.
and the community.
Yeah.
And it's more innovative than you might think.
Oh, absolutely. So you've had your tree up, you've enjoyed it, all beautiful, but now the pine needles are dropping. It's
Yeah.
time to say goodbye.
Right.
But in NYC, we don't just chuck it out the window, right?
Oh.
There are rules.
Definitely rules.
Our guide, it lays out some pretty specific guidelines from the Department of Sanitation, the DSNY.
Oh, yeah.
The
Wow.
DSNY, those are the masterminds
Yeah.
behind keeping the city clean, especially during that post-holiday tree tsunami. Imagine that, the logistics of managing all those discarded trees.
Oh, it's got to be a nightmare for them. Right. So first things first, you got to strip that tree bare. Ornaments, lights, tinsel, that little plastic angel on top,
Yeah,
gone.
gone.
And don't even think about leaving the stand on.
No,
The DSNY wants a naked tree ready for its next adventure.
they do. And that's where things get interesting because depending on if your tree is live or artificial, it's destined for different paths.
Okay, so let's talk about live trees first, because that's where NYC really shines. Have you ever heard of Mulch Fest?
Mulch Fest, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those quirky, wonderful things that makes NYC so unique.
Right.
Essentially what they do is the city turns its parks into these giant tree chipping extravaganzas.
Like rows of Christmas trees
Yeah.
being fed into these massive chippers.
Yeah. And transformed into a mountain of mulch.
Yeah. And this isn't just any mulch. This is like black gold for the city's parks and gardens. Helps retain moisture, suppress weeds, provides essential nutrients to the soil. Talk about a festive way to give back to the environment.
Totally. So Mulch Fest is one option, but NYC gives you a few ways to say goodbye to your tree. You can do curbside pickup or, drop it off at designated sites or participate in those special recycling programs like Mulch Fest.
Yeah, and this really highlights the convenience
Ah.
and choice that New Yorkers have when it comes to responsible disposal. It's all about making it easy for people to do the right thing.
Okay, so let's dive into the specifics of each option, starting with curbside pickup. Our guide gets pretty detailed about this one.
Yeah, it's important because the efficiency of the whole system depends on everyone following the rules.
Yeah.
So think of it like a Christmas tree pickup parade.
Okay.
There's a specific time window, usually in early January, where you can put your tree out on the curb.
Yeah. It's got to be free of all decorations, no plastic bags allowed, just the tree itself, ready for its grand exit.
And then, poof, sanitation trucks, they whisk them away to be chipped and turned into that valuable mulch we were talking about.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it, the sheer volume of trees they collect.
It is. It's a pretty impressive operation.
I bet most people don't even realize where their tree ends up.
I know, right?
It's like this secret life of a Christmas tree after it leaves our living room. Okay, so we've got curbside pickup down. What about those drop-off sites?
So those are a great option if you miss that curbside pickup window.
Oh.
Or maybe you want to be more hands-on with the disposal process.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you might even get to witness the tree chipping spectacle in person.
Oh, that's true.
Some drop-off sites had those massive chippers going, turning those trees into mulch right before your eyes.
Oh, talk about instant gratification.
Right. And for the truly dedicated, Mulch Fest actually offers a chance to take some of that, freshly made mulch home for your own garden.
Really?
Bringing a piece of the park back with you.
That's so cool. All right, now let's shift gears and talk about the elephant in the room. Or should I say the plastic pine in the corner.
Ooh.
Artificial trees.
Yeah.
I'll admit I have one myself. But according to our guide, these pose a bit of a recycling headache.
Yeah, here's where things get tricky. Because unlike a natural tree that can biodegrade, an artificial tree can linger in a landfill for centuries because of the materials it's made from.
Oh, wow. I never really thought about that. It just seems so convenient, put it up, take it down, store it away for next year. But now I'm realizing there's a whole other side to this artificial tree story.
It is. It's important to, to consider the entire life cycle of a product, not just its immediate use. And that brings up some interesting questions about the environmental impact of artificial trees, which, we'll explore in more detail in the next part of our deep dive.
Ooh, stay tuned, folks, because we're about to unravel the tangled truth about those seemingly immortal artificial trees.
All right, so we're back and ready to, untangle the truth about those artificial Christmas trees.
Yeah.
You're probably thinking, what's the big deal? They're reusable, right?
Yeah.
And you're not entirely wrong. A well-maintained artificial tree can last for years, potentially reducing the need to, buy a new tree every season.
Which, at first glance, that seems like a win for the environment, right?
Yeah.
Fewer trees being cut down.
Yeah, but our guide kind of hinted that there's more to the story.
Okay, so what's the catch?
Well, the catch is that most artificial trees are made from polyvinyl chloride, better known as PVC.
Oh, okay, PVC.
Yeah, and it's a type of plastic that's, incredibly durable, hence why those trees can last so long.
Right.
But the downside is that PVC is derived from petroleum, a fossil fuel.
Ah, so right off the bat, we're talking about the environmental impact of extracting and processing fossil fuels.
Exactly.
Not exactly a picture of sustainability.
Precisely. And the manufacturing process for PVC is it's quite energy intensive and involves various chemicals and transportation across the globe. So even before that artificial tree reaches your living room, it's already accumulated a pretty significant carbon footprint.
And then there's the issue of those chemicals, potentially, leaching out over time, especially if the tree is exposed to, heat or sunlight.
Right.
That can't be good for indoor air quality.
That's another concern, yeah. And then, of course, there's the end-of-life scenario.
Right.
Unlike a natural tree that can decompose and, return to the earth, an artificial tree presents a bit of a disposal dilemma.
Which is why we were discussing those alternative options,
Right.
like donating an artificial tree to a charity or finding ways to recycle its individual components.
Exactly. Sending an artificial tree to a landfill should really be a last resort. And even then, it might not break down for centuries, potentially releasing harmful substances into the environment as it slowly degrades.
Oh, wow. This is making me rethink my whole artificial tree situation. So it sounds like the convenience factor comes with this hidden environmental cost that we might not be fully considering when we make that purchase.
Absolutely. It's crucial to look at the entire life cycle of a product, from its origins to its ultimate disposal. When we're talking about making sustainable choices,
Yeah.
it's not just about the initial purchase price or the convenience factor.
Okay, so let's say someone is really set on having a real Christmas tree experience,
Yeah.
but they want to be as eco-conscious as possible. What are their best options?
Well, for starters, look for trees that are grown locally.
Okay.
This reduces the carbon footprint associated with transportation. You might even find local tree farms that use sustainable growing practices.
That makes sense. Supporting local businesses and reducing transportation miles.
Exactly.
Win-win. I've also heard about tree leasing programs. Is that a real thing?
It is, and it's becoming increasingly popular. You essentially rent a living tree for the holiday season, and then it's returned to the farm to be replanted. It's like giving a tree a temporary vacation in your living room.
That's such a cool concept. You get to enjoy the real deal without contributing to deforestation. It's like the best of both worlds.
Exactly. And some tree farms even offer the option to purchase a smaller potted tree that you can keep and replant yourself after the holidays.
Oh, that's neat. So there are definitely ways to have a festive and sustainable holiday season without resorting to, artificial alternatives. It just requires a little bit of research and planning.
Right. It's about being informed and making choices that align with your values.
Yeah.
Speaking of choices, our guide mentioned something I found pretty astonishing. The sheer volume of Christmas trees collected in NYC after the holidays.
Oh, yeah, we touched on that earlier. It's mind-boggling. Hundreds of thousands of trees.
It's great.
It's like a whole forest is reborn every year.
Yeah.
Just from discarded Christmas trees.
I know. Imagine the logistical feat of coordinating all that collection and processing.
Yeah.
The DSNY really deserves a round of applause for making it all happen so smoothly.
They really do. And what's even more impressive is how much of that, potential waste is diverted from landfills and transformed into something valuable, like that nutrient-rich mulch we talked about.
It really is. It's a testament to how a city can approach a seemingly mundane issue in a way that's both efficient and eco-conscious. And it goes beyond just the practical aspects. There's like this sense of community involvement, especially with events like Mulch Fest. People coming together to chip trees, collect mulch, and literally nourish their city.
It's like this post-holiday ritual that brings people together and benefits everyone.
Yeah.
It also reminds us that even something as simple as a Christmas tree can spark a conversation about sustainability and responsible consumption.
Yeah, and that's why I'm always curious to hear about how other cities approach this challenge. What works in one place might not be feasible in another, but there's always something to be learned from each other's experiences.
Absolutely. Maybe some cities have even more innovative solutions that we haven't even considered yet.
Right.
It's all about sharing ideas and learning from each other. But for now, I think we've covered a lot of ground. We've explored the ins and outs of curbside pickup, delved into the complexities of artificial trees, and discovered the magic of Mulch Fest.
We have. We've unpacked a lot of information about NYC's Christmas tree disposal system. The good, the bad, and the mulch-tastic. But now it's time to, zoom out a bit and consider what all of this means on, a personal level. Because at the end of the day, it's about the choices we make every day that collectively shape a more sustainable future.
Okay, so we've really gone deep on NYC's Christmas tree disposal system. But, let's bring it back to us,
Yeah.
What can we actually do with all this new knowledge?
Right. That's the golden question, isn't it? Information is only powerful, when we actually put it to use.
Exactly. So beyond just making sure we get rid of our own tree the right way, what are some big picture takeaways? Things that can help us make smarter decisions in the future.
Well, I think a major takeaway here is recognizing that, even something as seemingly small as a Christmas tree, has a footprint. It impacts the environment in ways we might not always think about.
Right, right. From the resources used to grow it or manufacture it to what happens when we're done with it.
Exactly, exactly. And that awareness should guide our choices.
Right.
If you're going for a real tree, maybe you seek out a local tree farm that prioritizes sustainable practices. Or consider those tree leasing programs we talked about, giving a tree a temporary holiday home.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And if an artificial tree is more your style, do your homework. Look for brands that use recycled materials or have more sustainable manufacturing processes. Yeah. And hey, even if you've already got an artificial tree, remember those tips for giving it a longer life. Donating, selling, or even getting creative and repurposing parts of it can keep it out of the landfill longer.
Absolutely.
Like we've been saying all along, it's about moving away from a throwaway mindset.
Right.
Embracing a more resourceful approach.
Exactly, exactly. And it goes beyond just the tree itself. What about the decorations? Instead of plastic tinsel, maybe try natural ornaments made from things like, pine cones or dried citrus fruits.
Oh, I love that idea. And when it comes to lights, LED lights are a much better choice.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
More energy efficient and last way longer.
Plus, they come in so many fun colors and styles these days, you don't have to sacrifice any festive vibes.
Not at all. Okay, so we've got the tree, the decorations, the lights. What about Christmas cards? Those seem to end up in the recycling bin pretty quickly.
Oh, that's a great point. Maybe this year you send e-cards, or if you're feeling crafty, make your own from recycled materials.
Oh, I'm already picturing some awesome DIY cards made from old magazines and newspaper. And when it comes to gift giving, maybe we can all put a little more thought into what we buy, choosing experiences over stuff or supporting local businesses and artisans.
Yeah, it's about shifting our focus from quantity to quality. Giving gifts that truly mean something and have a lasting impact.
Absolutely. And hey, even wrapping paper doesn't have to be single use. There's so many cool reusable options out there, like fabric wraps or even using old maps or newspaper for a vintage vibe.
Totally. Totally. It's all about finding those fun and creative ways to make sustainable swaps part of your holiday traditions.
What's really struck me throughout this whole deep dive into, Christmas tree disposal is that being eco-conscious doesn't have to mean sacrificing the joy and spirit of the holidays.
I totally agree. It's about finding that balance, making choices that allow us to celebrate and enjoy the season while also being mindful of our impact on the planet.
And who knows, maybe by making some of these changes ourselves, we can even inspire others to do the same.
Absolutely. That's the ripple effect we're hoping for. Because at the end of the day, it's our individual actions, multiplied across communities, that can lead to real change.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the surprisingly intricate world of NYC Christmas tree disposal, I want to leave you with one final thought. Now that you've heard about how New York City tackles this challenge, take a look around your own community. How are things done where you live? What can we learn from each other?
Because ultimately, whether you're in a bustling city or a small town, the choices we make matter. And by being informed, engaged, and maybe even a little bit quirky, we can all create a more sustainable and festive future for everyone. Happy holidays.